In this video, we're going to look at the first assignment for CS 458, 558 in the fall of 2020. The first assignment is listed here. There's a link. So this is practice with Python. We're going to be programming in Python. If you have not done Python before, then go over to reading, and I put here reading material, programming in CS getting started. In particular, make sure your system's set up, and read the information about Handin and Python programming. So for getting your system set up, there's Linux and CS systems getting started, and system setup. In particular, we're going to need a terminal to be able to run programs on the server, and depending on what operating system you're using, there are options and how to get started with that. You'll also need a login to the server. For our class, if you're in Blackboard with our class and you go to My Grades, there's a login and a password. So the login will be listed here under grade. I don't have one because I'm not a real student. But once you have that and you have whichever terminal program, then you can log in. I'm on a Mac, so the terminal, and you can read the instructions about how to get to this. But once I have my login, I'm using this one, CS45824, SSH. There we go, now I'm logged in. The first time you log in, it asks to confirm your password and your name, and the other stuff doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm logged in, and let's take a look at the actual assignment. Well, if you're on Windows, then this is what it looks like. You have different options, but one of them is PuTTY. If you install the PuTTY program, then you put in here the server you want to connect to, cs.indstate.edu, and then your login name and password. That's not the right login name. Okay, so whether you're on Windows in PuTTY or on the Mac in the terminal, now we're ready to, let's see what the assignment says we're going to do. That is under homework. There's H1, and you should read this. What we're going to do is the first 14 programs out of this list. So this is a list of classic beginning programming exercises, and these are ones where I haven't given solutions, so they're good ones for you to work on. We're going to do all of these. Let's check back to the text file. We're using the Handin program to keep track of these, so this is the command to check out the assignment. And that created a directory H1, and files with the right names. So you're going to put your programs into these files. This thing at the top makes it so that I can do ./head.py, and it'll run. There's nothing in there right now, but if I say print hello there, then there's something that would actually happen. Okay, so this is called the shebang. It's going to run Python 3 to interpret the program. Okay, so all these files here are they're just empty files ready for you to put your code in, and when you submit, it's going to pick those files. So you have to keep those file names. That's the way Handin works. Okay, So there's more information you should read. The next thing for this video is there are correct versions of the programs that you can run. I'm going to open up a new tab. I'll go here. So in that directory, I have these .py-c. Those are compiled Python programs, so they're compiled into Python bytecode, which means you can run them without me giving you the Python code. So for head, you can do Python 3 head, and it expects to get a file name. That's the way head works. And that's the first 5 lines of this text file. That's what this says right here: read from standard input or a file and print only the first 5 lines of the file. So that's what my version of the program does, and this is the definition of correct. If you try to look at that, it's Python bytecode. So that's the whole point of me giving you that file. It doesn't give you the code. Over here, it is noted that if you run any of the programs with -- help, it'll print a usage statement. So Python 3 head.pyc -- help. That tells me how it's supposed to run. So you're going to run your program like this, or having it just read from the keyboard. So some of the programs will work whether you read from the keyboard or from a text file. Okay, so you're going to be looking through a Python tutorial if you haven't done Python before, or if you need to refresh your Python. That's under the reading here. So you're going to get your system set up if you haven't done it before, and take a look at the Python programming stuff, because that's the programming language we're going to use. There's Python programming getting started. So there are some different places that you could either start learning Python or brush up. Okay, so you're going to be reading that. You have a problem to work on. Pick one that you know how to do at some point. And then you're going to read that description, but then go run my program to see how it's supposed to work. And my program is the definition of what is correct. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do head together. I'll do that in this account over here, which will be just like you'll have. So there's print hello there. Okay, and it's supposed to have this -- help, and I'll make my program do that as well. And it needs to get that from the command line arguments. And one way to get the command line arguments is with the sys module. So import sys, and then there's going to be something called sys.argv. That will be a list, and if the length of this is less than 2, or let's see, length So if either there are not enough command line arguments, like I'm expecting 2 right at the moment, and we can change that, or if, well, why don't we just put it like this for now. Okay, so if there is a command line argument and it equals help, then I want to print the usage statement. And I'll print just the same exact usage statement. Okay, now I can go ahead and test this. All right, so I've achieved something. I have a usage statement. Now I want to open a file. So let's say that the length, let's see, in this case I'm also going to exit. If I print the usage statement, then I'm going to exit as well. There's the exit command in the sys module. So if I'm down here, then I didn't do the usage statement. If the length is greater than 1, then I'm going to open a file. And the way to open a file is open. And if I'm down here, then I'm assuming that, so this will be, when you run the program, this is going to be sys.argv bracket 0. And this, whatever they gave, is going to be sys.argv bracket 1. Okay, so I'm going to try to open that. And then I want to print the first 5 lines. One way to do that, there's many different ways. So we'll go like this, and then I'll keep a counter. And if the counter gets up to 5, then I'll break. So let's see. There, it didn't do anything because I didn't give it a file. Now let's give it head.py. And let's see, did it print the first 5 lines? That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got the first 4, it looks like. So I'm off by 1 on this thing here. All right, and then it looks like I have a bunch of empty lines. And the reason is, if you read a file like this line actually has a new line at the end of it. So I don't need to print. The print command will print a new line as well unless you do this. So that says at the end of the print, put an empty string rather than a new line. Okay, and you could check against, against my correct definition of correct program to make sure it's looking okay. All right, so the other thing that my program will do is if you don't give a argument, hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that read from the keyboard. This was me typing, and this is my program printing out the first 5 lines and then being done because it got the first 5 lines. So over here, there's different ways to do this, but I'm going to do it like this. Okay, so fn is my variable that has my open file. If they gave me an argument, then I'm setting fn to open. If not, I set it to stdin, which is input from the keyboard. And then down here, it doesn't matter where that came from. Either way, I'm going to read from it with this for loop. So that did the same thing. Okay, that would be head. Some of your other programs, if you run the usage, if they have this kind of where they're either going to take a file name or read from standard input, you can use this kind of a trick. And what happens if we give it a file name that's not correct? We get an error on the open. I try to open a file that's not there, and you can check my program to see what I do in that case. and I didn't do anything smart. I just let the error happen. All right, so you should test out bad inputs as well on my program, and you can do the same thing. If I didn't check for the bad inputs, you don't have to either. Okay, that should be enough to get you started. Once you have anything, even if you don't have a correct program yet, if you're in your account, you can type submit to submit your files. You can submit as many times as you want, but after you submit, I can check. So you can ask me to check it copies to a place where I can get to it. If you're in your home directory, you submit with hand in and then the name of the assignment. If you're in an assignment directory, then submit either way. So it'll always keep your last submission. Once you get started, go ahead and submit it and ask me to check to make sure you're using hand in properly. Okay, that should get you started. Good luck.